Have you ever dealt with a neighbor who thinks your property is theirs? Well, my entitled neighbor kept sending her kids to play in my yard after I told her no. So I set up a little trap, and when her kids triggered it, the look on her face was priceless. If you love satisfying revenge stories, hit that like button and subscribe. I've got plenty more where this came from. I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood, and for the most part, it's been pretty peaceful. That was until Karen moved in next door. And yes, she really does live up to the name. From the moment she arrived, she acted like the world revolved around her. She had that attitude, loud, bossy, and completely entitled. But the worst part. She decided that my yard was her kids' personal playground. At first, I didn't say anything. I figured, okay, maybe it's just a one-time thing. The kids were running around on my grass, chasing each other, leaving toys scattered everywhere. It was annoying, but I let it slide. But then it kept happening. Every single day, I'd look outside and there they were, playing in my yard. And the thing is, I have a pretty nice lawn. I take good care of it, and I don't want it destroyed. So one afternoon, I went outside and told Karen directly, "Hey, I'd appreciate it if your kids stayed in your yard instead of mine." Now, any reasonable neighbor would apologize, maybe even tell their kids to stop. But Karen, oh no. She rolled her eyes and said, "They're just kids, what's the big deal?" I told her, the big deal is that this is my yard, not a playground. She huffed, acted offended, and stormed back inside. But guess what? The very next day, her kids were back on my lawn like nothing had happened. At this point, I was done. If she wasn't going to respect my property, I was going to make sure she learned the hard way. That's when I came up with the idea. See, I have a sprinkler system in my yard. And it just so happens that I can turn it on manually whenever I want. So I set it up perfectly, waiting for the moment those kids came running into my yard again. Sure enough, not even a day later, they were back. Laughing, screaming, tossing their toys around. And I'll admit, I actually got a little excited. I grabbed the switch, waited for just the right moment, and flipped it on. Whoosh! Sprinklers exploded to life, blasting cold water all over the yard. The kids screamed in shock, drenched instantly, and ran shrieking back toward their house. Their toys? Completely soaked. I was trying so hard not to laugh, but honestly, it was one of the most satisfying things I've ever seen. A few minutes later, here comes Karen. And let me tell you, she was furious. She stormed over, yelling at me, saying, "How dare you spray my children with water? They're just kids." I calmly told her, "Well, if they weren't in my yard after I told you to keep them out, they wouldn't have gotten wet." She stood there fuming, but she didn't have much of a comeback. Because she knew I was right. From that day forward, her kids never set foot in my yard again. Not once. The revenge was simple, harmless, but incredibly effective. I didn't hurt anyone. I didn't damage anything. But I sent a very clear message. My yard is my yard, and if you disrespect that, you're going to face the consequences. And the best part. Every time I saw Karen after that, she'd give me this dirty glare, like she hated me. But I didn't care. Because my lawn stayed safe, and I finally had peace again. Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud or destructive. Sometimes it's just a clever, petty little trap that makes the entitled person look ridiculous. And trust me, watching Karen's plan to take over my yard backfire was worth every second. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more satisfying revenge tales. And let me know in the comments, how would you have dealt with a neighbor like Karen?